Good morning everyone, I hope you're well. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So I thought we'd have a little catch up, a little chat and just a little bit of creative time together. And just to let you know the news from Tracy Evans Boutique Designs. For this weekend, today and up till Monday, I have, as a thank you, 10% discount on my products, on certain products. I don't do huge discounts, that's not what I'm about, but I do like to do a little thank you now and then. So products TE1 to TE10, they have 10% off on the website and that's automatically applied. The apron has 10% off and so do the blending brushes and also the bundle TE1 to 6. That's automatically applied at checkout. So that's what's happening at Tracy Evans Boutique Designs. It's just a little thank you because I truly appreciate your support. And without your support, my little business wouldn't exist. So it's important that every now and then I give something back. So thank you very much. So talking about giving things back, I think it's time for some inspiration. And that's what I'm all about. I love to give as much inspiration as possible using my products. So I think I'm going to use my gel press. It isn't very clean. Now, if that worries you, what I would suggest is you take either a print of your gel press and take off, add some white paint and take a print, or give it a clean with a little baby wipe or a damp cloth, nothing abrasive. And what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to use the Honesty stamp set, and I think we will use the seed pods as well, TE29. So TE28 and TE29. So let's put the acetate back so that we don't lose that. There we go. And then we'll take our Honesty stamp. And we'll just take this here. And I think I'll just make, let's grab an ink pad. I think I'll just make a mask as well. I don't think I've made a mask of this one. I'm sure I haven't. But you never know with Tracy, with the amount of masks she has. Now, I'm sure I haven't made a mask of this one. Normally, I make them well in advance, but I'm just going to use this grubby piece of copier paper. I'm just going to use my Portobello ink. I just want to check how deep the Portobello ink is anyway. So it's a good time to sort of just test that ink. So I'm having a test. And then I'm just going to test how dark. So let me just, I know this is mad, but let me just sort of take off the excess. And then I'm going to use my sand dune. So I'm just going to use sand dune and see how dark that is. And don't forget, sometimes I just have a little play. I don't always necessarily create a completed project all in one go. Most of the time I do. Yes, I like that sand dune colour. Right, so let's cut out, excuse me, let's cut out a mask. And what I'll do is I won't waste that one. Later I will create another mask as well. So I won't waste the product. So let's just cut a mask out. So I'm just cutting it out of copier paper for quickness for a video. You can cut it out of your masking sheets should you wish. Let's just cut around here. And obviously you don't leave a white gap when you're creating a mask because you want it right to the edge so that when you over stamp, it goes right up to the edge. Now, with this design, you don't have to create a mask. I'll explain as I'm creating the card. There's always different ways to create a project. I may cough now and then. I've got a little bit of a sore throat. Thank you to my hubby who brought it home when he visited London. Very kind of him to share. Let's just go around here. I'm just using my Pergamano scissors, my curved scissors. I've used these for over 2 decades, but you could use curved nail scissors. I like the little scissors for cutting out. I know some of you can cut out wonderfully with those large scissors, not me. Too bulky and cumbersome for me. So I've got my little mask. So I've got some things to play with. No idea where I'm going. But I've got some pieces of Pink Frog smooth card, should I need them. And it is 4 inches by 6 inches. It's super smooth card and it is 300 with a H even, 300 GSM. And what we're going to do is just have a little play. So I'm going to use Wilted Violet and Vintage Photo. And I've bought in my brayer that's for my inks. And what I'm going to do first is, let's put those wipes back in. Let's just make sure that that brayer is clean, because it's a little bit pinky and I don't know whether it's clean. So let's just make sure. It's got a little bit of brown ink on there, but as it is, that actually doesn't matter. But you can see it's a bit grubby, so it wasn't particularly clean. So let's take this copier paper and rub off any of that sort of mucky wetness. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take Vintage Photo, nice warm brown, and I'm just going to pick that ink up, just a good layer of ink, and I've sort of not added it to the edges because it doesn't really matter. And I'm just going to add this to my gel press. So I've got a piece of card on the side and I'm just going to add the excess colour just to my card. And you think there's no colour on there, but it's surprising how much colour is actually on your on your brayer. Keep brayering over because that sort of adds texture and depth. So keep rolling over your card. Then I'm going to take some Wilted Violet. So I'll take a little bit of Wilted Violet. Now, it's a very strong colour, so I'm adding it very patchy. And I don't want to sort of add so much of the purpley colour that it's overpowering. So let's place the excess on here. And this is how I play. But look at that beautiful background. It's just lovely, really lovely. And that's just brayering some colour. Now, you think there's nothing on there. Look how many times I'm rolling over. And I'll do it a few more times. Let's move this out of the way. And you think there's nothing on there. But then when I wipe over my brayer, colour still comes off. So it's surprising. You think there's nothing on the brayer, but there is. So I'm going to just add some water here. Now, if you've got a jar of water, that obviously makes it a lot easier. I'm trying to avoid any mess because if I have a jar of water close by, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to lift these up for you. So let's just give these a little bit of a spritz, not a spritz, a splatter. So I'm just using a fan brush. Doesn't matter if you haven't got a fan brush, just use what you've got. But the fan brush sort of, it's very delicate in the way it adds that water. And again, so that you've got a close-up, I will come and lift these up. Right. And at first, when you do your gel press, because mine's mucky, mine's, I don't know how many years old, but now you can see there is beads of ink on there. just so you can see the water. And then so you can see the piece that I've braided off, you can see that that water is reacting with the ink. And that's a simple technique, isn't it? And you can still get a beautiful background. So let's leave that on one side. Grab another piece of Pink Frog smooth, super smooth card, 300 GSM, 4 inches by 6 inches. And then what we'll do is we'll just, as the 2 there, we'll place our card just on the background. And I don't have to press too hard. I don't have to firmly press. You can just lightly press over your gel press. There we go. And you can tell it's done something because you have that resistance. But look at that background. How yummy is that? I just think that's yummy. And then let's see if there's anything more on there. Oh, so what we can do now is take our brush again, our fan brush, because we added ink, didn't we? All the way around the sides as well. So let's just pick up a little bit more water and just see if there's anything else on there. So let's just pick that up. And then what we can do is just see if there's any more ink on there. And of course there is. It's beautiful. And of course now I have 3 backgrounds. Oh, it just makes me so happy. I love when you can create something. I'm not all about complicated. I don't do complicated, but look at these backgrounds. Simple to do and so effective. And if you want to, you can pick up some more water and we can add some more water to our backgrounds. Let's pick these up. You can just add more water to our backgrounds like so. There we go. Let's move this out of the way. Let's mop up that water and let's take a look at our backgrounds. So you've got the first generation background of the gel press, which I just think is lovely. And I've added some more water so that continues to react. I have a second generation print, which I think will be lovely for our project. And then we have a braid off piece. So let's just dab our braid off piece, just so that we dab and you can see the reaction a little bit more on that card. Now look at that. Just a simple braid off background. Fantastic. Second generation background, wonderful. First generation background, love it. And I'll be using every single one. Not in the video or else you'll be here all year. But let's move them out of the way. Oh. And I'm going to use this sort of second generation background. I think it's just beautiful. So I'm just going to leave it and let it do its thing, and I'm not even going to dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sand dune ink. So let's take the sand dune ink and giving that a really good inking. There we go. And then I'm going to decide where the floral is going. So I think I'm going to place that there. There we go. Now, you know, because you've seen me create the background, there is moisture in that card. I'm not worrying about it. I'm just going with it because I've not drowned the card with water. I've just flicked it lightly with water. And what I've done is I've taken the second generation print from the gel press of any ink that's left on there. So I'm just giving my sand dune ink a little bit of time just to work on the card. There we go. Very faded out here because I've still got some ink on there. That's absolutely fine. I've got the image. That's all I need. So what I'm going to do is take my mask like so. And then I'm going to take the seed pods. Tracy can't get a word out. Now, what I'm going to do with them, I'm going to use my Distress ink. There we go. Move this out of the way. I'm going to take, actually we will need the big ink pad, the acrylic block. I'm going to take the seed pods and I'm going to ink these with my vintage photo, because then I can move that colour. And what I'm doing is I'm not filling in the centre, I'm just sort of going around the outer edge. So I'm going to add the seed pods here, and this will show you how much moisture there is. Let me see if you can see it from there. Can you see it moving there? Watch. That's because there's moisture still in the card. That's fine. But you need to be aware, if you don't want that moisture and that movement, then dry your card. I'm not doing that because, well, I'll explain. I want the softness and the movement. So I want it to look more natural. So let's take this here. And then we're going to take the vintage photo again. And let's just grab one more colour. I can't pick it up. Come on, Tracy. Oh, there we go. Going to take a little bit of scorched timber as well, just so they look a little bit different each time you stamp them. So I'm going to add a little bit of scorched timber, a little bit darker just around the edge. And don't forget, this ink is movable because it reacts with moisture. Let's have that one down here. Now there's only a little bit of moisture down here. Again, absolutely fine. There we go. So we're just sort of leaving like an impression at the moment of our stamped work. Now, let me just check if I want, if I just ink. So like I'm talking to myself. I often talk to myself because I'm thinking about my composition. So let's just, we need that other mask. Remember when I said to you, oh, I will use that mask. Do I need, no, it's not that one. I need the, oh dear me, the, spit it out, seed pods. I just need one of the seed pods. Tracy couldn't speak. So let's just, and we're just going with the flow here. If you don't want to use the Distress, you can easily use your sand dune. So it is just these seed pods here. I'm just going to go around these seed pods here. Just need the circle area. Don't need the don't need all of it. So let's just, did I do the right ones? That will do anyway, just to protect that. So I'm going to take the sand dune again. Let's put the lids on these because I know what's going to happen. We'll get the lids mixed up, etc, etc. So let's take the sand dune again. There we go. And I'll tell you why it's not going to matter. Let's add this here. So just stamp your VersaFine Claire again. And you're not worrying too much at this stage. There we go. Now, if you didn't want to add, so I've got my sort of Honesty florals and the seed pods behind. Now, if you didn't want to add a mask, you could just stamp the seed pods and just stamp the Honesty over the top. It's entirely up to you. It gives a slightly different look, but that doesn't matter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of the vintage photo. Let's take a little bit of water. Not much, just my fine brush, a little bit of the vintage photo, and I'm just going to add a little bit more definition to my seed pods. So let's add a little bit more definition, and the ink I've already got on there is also going to move. That will move as well, but we're just going to add a little bit more definition to those seed pods. There we go. Let's just add a little bit more definition. So by adding some of the dark distress, it just gives it makes each one look a little bit different, and the seed pods are always a little bit different. Just blending out that colour. And then we're going to take, what's this called? Vintage photo. And don't forget, we're just having some creative time together. So what I'm going to do now is sort of draw in my leaf that was slightly missed, because it really doesn't matter, to be honest, because I'm going to colour it anyway. So let's just pick up that colour. Just pick up your colour. We are going to need our heat tool at some point, but I like to avoid as much as possible. So what I'm doing is just bringing in our sort of first layer. And I want to show you how you can just develop that. Let's just, so we've got our leaves in there. So let's grab a little bit of scorched timber, just to bring a little bit of darkness. Now, have your kitchen roll to hand, because if you've got a little bit too much moisture, it does run away with you. But what I love is, because I've got moisture on the card, it starts to wick out, and it sort of gives me a more natural look to that card. It wicks out because there's already moisture on that card, and you know that because I haven't dried the card. And what's good about that is you can just blend out really easily, just to give it a little bit more definition. just, and you have to remember, in nature, not everything is identical. You know, they're misshapen. The colours vary. So you just need to remember that. So just using that fine brush, just drag out those oxides. And you can bring in some of the warmth again with the vintage photo. And I've not dried the oxide, so they still move. So let's bring in a little bit more. And I love spending time with you, just so we can be a little bit creative. Let's bring in a little bit more of that warmth, just so that we can spend a little bit of time together, just so that's really natural. Pick up that water, and we'll pick up the scorched timber, and we're just going to come in and just pick it up a little bit of the scorched timber, just to bring some darkness to the leaf. So just turn that around. And again, I've still not dried that card. I've still not dried it. I've just left it to do its own thing, and I've not touched it. The florals are what I stamped in the permanent ink, but I sort of didn't get like a really solid image, just sort of the outline, just so that I can colour that a little bit. So I know there's a waste of ink here, which you could quite pick up quite easily onto another piece of card, but I want to go to a little bit of the purple, so I need to. So what I'm doing is I'm building a base of colour. So we're just building that base of colour. So let's take the wilted violet, and whilst we just look at that wilted violet, let's look at this is a seed pod. As you can see, let me hold this up for you. This is a seed pod. That's an Honesty seed pod that has been in my room. It's very crisp. And you can easily go out in the garden or in nature, and you can pick these up and just have a look, because we will, can you see they've got these little end bits as well, and that's why I've got these end bits on mine. But you can easily go around in nature and look at things. So let's just add a little bit of the purple. Now I'm not sort of, can you see I'm sort of touching each floral with a little bit of that purple, and then I'm just going to drag out a little bit of that colour, just so we drag it out a little bit, adding a little bit of the colour. And I'm tickling, I'm picking, I don't know why I said tickling, I'm picking up a touch of that colour each time. I'm hardly, look, one little dot there I'm picking up, so I'm just picking up a little bit of that colour. I'm not picking up too much of that colour, so I'm picking up one dot of concentrated colour, one dot of concentrated colour, and then sort of drag that dot of concentrated colour out. So we're going for a very sort of natural look. I'm not going for anything too overpowering. Tiny bit of water. We need that water so we can move that colour. and we'll just let that dry a little bit. So very sort of natural colour. So, and I've just used that stamp just to stamp it very lightly. One little blob of colour. And if you don't want to, you don't have to add too much colour. It can be a suggestion of that colour. You can have it very light or you can have it very dark. It's entirely up to you. And because you can move that ink, you don't need to worry. So nobody needed as much ink as I was using. So I'm just adding a few dots. Then I can just blend that out. And you're just colouring literally with your oxides. Just blending that out. So I'm just picking a dot of colour up, dotting that on, and then when I've dotted it on in the areas that I want the dark colour, then sort of blend that out with the little amount of water that you've got on that card. We can go into the stems and add more depth should we wish. I'm not going to waste this. And if you want to, you can take, where have I put the packaging? You can take your packaging and you can easily sort of have a look at your packaging if you want to sort of see a little bit more detail on your card and you want to see what it looks like. So it's entirely up to you where you add the darkness, like so. Just blend that out. Let's pick up a little bit more water, and obviously if you pick up a little bit more water, it just softens that out a little bit more, just softens it out so that it's not just too overpowering. And you can go in quite easily and just add some dots of the darker purple if you wish. Then I can just rinse that out so I've got it watered down, and you can really sort of blend that out so it's very, very natural. So you can pick up the rich colour and then you can just dot the colour. Then you can pick up a lot of water just to blend that out. Okay, let me just, so I'm going to take a little bit of the, let's just clean water, a little bit of the scorched timber, and let's add some of that scorched timber, and we're just going to add a little bit more. Oh, nearly went into the purple then. A little bit more depth just to our branches, and just lovely. And then do I want to add a little, I quite like the background, how sort of soft that is. I do like how wonderfully soft that really looks. And then with the brown, the scorched timber, you can see you've got these little points, so you can add those so that it looks just like. Now what I would suggest is, now that you give this a little dry, so let's give this a little dry. And don't forget, this is your background. So let's just give that a little dry. Try that from the reverse. I'm not drying it so it's completely dry. I can still see a little bit of moisture here, just so you can see you've got a very sort of natural look. Right, let's take our honesty, and now we need a spare piece of card. Let's use a scrap piece rather than, and this isn't like a snippet where we do it in less time. The idea is we're spending a bit of creative time together. So I'm going to use my sand dune. I just adore sand dune. Now I want a more perfect image, in other words, not like my background where it's a background. So I'm stamping this onto white card. There we go. Just gorgeous, just gorgeous. And I'm going to cut around my floral. Again, using my smaller scissors. And when I'm cutting out, I always move the card. I personally find it easier that way than trying to move my hands in silly positions. I mean, I know I do that anyway because my desk's cluttered, but you know what I mean. And you know, it's a Friday, it's October, and the sun's actually shining. I love these sort of sunny, crisp days. They're just wonderful. Right. So yeah, that's it. So let's go round the leaf. And I love the honesty leaf. I just think it's wonderful in its own right, the honesty leaf is. It really is wonderful, just in its own right. There we go. So with it being sort of background animals, you could quite easily have just stamped the seed pods and then stamped the honesty over the top. But that's not me. I like to sort of show you how to do things in several different ways if I can. Now, it's up to you if you want to stamp it in black. That's entirely up to you. But that's not the look I was going for. So then I'm sort of going to raise this so that it's up above and this is in the background. But I'm just going to give that time to rest a little bit, just so that it has a little rest. My card has to rest now and then, you know. So then I'm going to take my brush that I just hid and couldn't see, and then I'm just going to take, where's my kitchen roll? Always have your kitchen roll, Tracy, because I can just dab that little bit off. Honestly, the time goes so quick, doesn't it? So I'm going to add a little bit of a wash just to the honesty. So we're just going to, so this is sort of, it's not much colour there, we're just adding a little bit of a wash just to the florals. No depth, no dimension, just a little bit of a wash initially. just so I can see where I'm going. There we go. And just remember to speak, Tracy. So I've got my colour initially on there. I'm going to pick up some sort of darker touches of the colour just around the edges. You know, like when you start dark to light, and I can just make this lighter by watering that out. So a little bit of the dark, just sort of dabbed. Look at that, I'm just dabbing, not doing much. And then as I get less product on my brush, I then just sort of drag out to nothing. So pick up a few dots of that. Let's add it a little bit darker, sort of around the edge here. And just as it gets less and less on my brush, just drag it out. So take a little bit of the pigment, again, just dot that around the edge. My brush is getting a little bit dry now. Just dot that, and then as you come to with hardly anything on the brush, just drag that out. Preferably use clean water, Tracy. So we'll pick up too much moisture, just dab that off, and then I'm just going to dab just a few dark areas just here and there. So I'm just dotting that, just so that it's got some of that dark area on there. Let's dab a bit more on there, and then just as this starts to lose its strength, as in colour, I can then just sort of blend that out. That's better. So again, dot that, and just as it sorts of dilutes, just drag that out a little bit. There we go. So we can just add, I'm just going to move that water because I know what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip my card straight into it. Now you might say, well, why are you not doing anything more with the leaf? That's because I'm going to add another leaf. Don't forget, I'm doing an arrangement, but I want to add some stamping to the background, which I nearly did then. I nearly added that without. So don't forget, you've got your florals in the background, and we want this to dry a bit. So now we're going to take our background stamp. We're going to take TE11, and the thing is, TE11 will be out on my desk somewhere. Let me just, I try to keep them in order. So we're going to take TE11, just so that we've got the background text, and I'm going to take the sand dune. Yes, we've got sand dune, and we're going to add a little bit of stamping so it looks more like a botanical. So then it'll sort of like you would get in a botanical book. Just using my finger just to add a little bit of text, just so it looks more like a botanical. Again, let's do the same. Don't forget, this is a background. One finger, nothing more, just to add that. So you're using the sand dune. Again, this is becoming a favourite colour, and that's also online in my shop as well. But it's becoming a favourite colour because it's great for no line colouring, and it allows you to add other colours on the top. But when you add this text, it just makes it look like a proper botanical. Well, in my version anyway, it's my version. There we go. Let's just extend that a little bit up there. Now you could see quite easily, I mean that background ink now won't move even if I added some water, so that the VersaFine Clair won't move. But if you wanted to and you wanted something really subtle, you could leave it like that, couldn't you? But I like just sort of building that up a little bit. So we've got that on there, and I'm just sort of going to offset this on here, and it's going to be raised, and so will another leaf as well. Excuse me. Have I got my white pen on here? Does that mean I have? But let's just give this a little dry. Now this floral doesn't need too much colour at all. It doesn't need a lot of colour. Just adding a few sort of touches of white just to give a little bit more life to the design. And sometimes just adding a few dots just brings it to life a little bit more. So I'm going to take my no, it's not ultra thick gel medium. I'm going to take my pin flare. Tracy can't speak. So I'm going to add my pin flare. A good, really good dollop on there so that it's slightly raised. You want it to be raised from the other elements. Just so that that's raised away from the other elements. And then let's just push this up. Let's take the darker. Where are you? See, don't pile your stamps up like Tracy does, because you're just not going to find anything, which is just me all over. Let me just show you the other backgrounds now they're drying. Aren't they gorgeous? And again, perfect for the Honesty stamp. I'm going to use Portobello and Sand Dune for the other leaf. Dear me. Bring this in. That's it. So actually I might just, let's just stamp in the Portobello, just the leaf. I'm going to take the leaf. I love this leaf. I love it on its own. I even use the leaf on its own. And let's just cut that out. There we go. So I'm sort of just adding to my arrangement. You don't have to add to your arrangement if you don't wish. There we go. And I'm just going to add a little bit of the colour just to the edges. I know it's going all over my non-stick craft sheet, but just to add it to the edges of the reverse. You have to remember that these are oil based and permanent, so I have to use some hand sanitizer to remove that. Bring in my card. Just going to give that a little bit of life, and I want to add this here, like so, and just grab my scissors just so that can, I like to indulge in doing some arrangements sometimes. I love floral stamps, but I love my garden anyway, so floral stamps always make me happy. They just do. So what I'm going to do now is just leave that for the moment. And then I'm going to take the scorched timber. I'll have to make sure that I haven't got any purple. Told you. Look, I'm getting good at remembering. So I'm going to pick up this, spit it out, scorched timber. And I'm just sort of going to add a couple of the seeds that you get. Now, it's hardly noticeable, but for me, it's just that little touch. I'm just going to add the little seeds as if they're in the pod, the seed pod. You're not going to see many down here, so it's just like a suggestion. And this is just my version. You know, I'm not a botanical artist. The idea is I'm happy with what I'm producing. So can you see these little seeds in here? Can you see those little seeds in there? I could plant those and you'll get a new plant from that. Don't you think nature is amazing? I do. And you can see that it's actually dark around the edge, even on the seed pod. Just love it. Just love the whole thing. Right, what do I want to, what was it? Oh yes, I'm going to have to add the word afterwards. So do I want any more purple? Do you like how I question myself? Let me move that brown. Let me move that. Let's give the nice brown a clean, because we don't want to go to the purple. Just wipe some of that up. I'm just going to pick a little bit more of that purple up. Just add a little bit more, because you saw me dry this a little bit. So I can add a little bit more of that deeper colour, should I wish. You can just, and because there's still moisture in there, it's still actually sort of wicking out, which is just lovely. I'm going to add some splatters. And I was going to say you could add more purple around the edge, but I like the subtleness of it, and it's not too much. So I actually really like that. Let's just clean that up. And because I'm trying to keep my non-stick craft sheet clean, so that when I do videos, you're not distracted by mess on my non-stick craft sheet, let's use a little bit of hand sanitizer just to clean that up, or pure alcohol or whatever. So there we go, and it also smells nice. Just means you're not distracted by things that are on my non-stick craft sheet. So I'm then going to take, nobody knows where the actual honesty stamp is because it's buried. It is a shame, isn't it, that, you know, where have you put the honesty stamp? Come on. There it is, right at the back. Because Tracy gets so excited. And then it all gets in a mess. So I may even stamp another floral yet. So let's grab that honesty wording. And I want the seed pods, and I've just seen that. And I'm like, where is it now? There they are. So I'm going to take the honesty wording, and I'm going to stamp that in the black, because that will be in the foreground. You've also got some beautiful honesty text here as well. So let's just have that honesty wording. And what I'm doing here is I'm just enjoying myself. I'm just enjoying creating. There we go. Take this. And the seed pods, experiment with different colours. They look divine in different colours. So I'm just going to add the honesty there. There we go. Let's just move that out of the way. So I'm going to add this honesty just tucked in there, like so. I can't pick it up, can you tell? That's it. So let's just add this here. And I'm just indulging in what I love. Let's grab that there. We'll take our Inktense pencil, which is China ink. I think it's 1020. So we'll use our Inktense pencil. Make sure that's straight. I love adding the shading underneath. It just adds a little bit of something to that, but we really don't want to add it in purple shading. Again, if you've got your jar of water, you can just dip your brush in the water. Let's just blend that out. That really blends beautifully, so that we've got our honesty just inside. And then let's grab the seed pods. There we go. But you can stamp these seed pods in lots of different colours, and my design team member has done them in turquoises and in another colour, and it just looks beautiful, just standalone on its own. So I'm going to take, what colour are you going to use, Tracy? I think I'm going to use again the Sand Dune. Let's add the Sand Dune, and I'm only inking the whole lot because I can't decide which bit I'm cutting out. And then I'm going to use the Portobello just to add maybe some sort of darker touches. Let's add I've lost my piece of card. Can we fit it in there? There we go. So this is the permanent ink pad now. So you can't move that colour because it's permanent. Which ones do I want? All right, see, when you don't know how much you want, I'm going to have a go at just cutting. I'll just go ahead and cut out what I want and faff around with bits afterwards. Let me just... Sometimes I cut these pieces out and then I think, I'm not going to use that. So I spend ages cutting it out and then I don't use it. I'm good like that as well. So let's just get the bulk of it away from the card. There we go. So then I'm going to go. So I've got that. Let's just, there we go. So I've got some of these seed pods that I can then just add. Now it's going to take me ages because this is me all over. I think I like it sort of there. So let's add a little bit of the seed pod that I can't pick up now. A little bit of a dollop of pin flare. There you go, just to give it a little bit more dimension. I'll just do a sort of a few like little dots of they've got the seeds in there. I can hear my little dog barking because she's excited over some food. And then we'll just add some splatters of white. Again, you don't have to add the splatters if you don't want to add them. Do I want any more of these seed pods? I told you I faffed, didn't I? It's me all over. It's what I do best. Faff, faff, faff. No, you have to know when to say no. I'm quite happy with that. And then do we want our little bird? So I'm going to grab the little wren from TE30. I've got so many acrylic blocks out now, it's ridiculous. And look, I'm not even putting the honesty stamp back. And then let's take our little bird. We're going to stamp the little bird in black. Again, just so it's more uppermost. I'm going to cut this out just so I can tuck my little bird in. Look at that, I've got a little white blob. Doesn't matter. Let's just colour that in. There we go, and you'd never know. Just between me and you. There's only me and you that know. So I'm going to cut my little bird out. And now, although it's a little bird, it's good size. And I should have cut the feet out first because that makes it so much easier. But of course, Tracy didn't. It doesn't matter anyway because I think I'm going to tuck my little bird in. And I'm still going to, even though I'm going to tuck the bird in, it just plays with my head. I'm still going to have to cut it out properly. I know. What am I like? It's got to have legs because, you know, if he fell off the card for some reason, he's got to be able to run. Let's just... I know you all think I'm stark raving mad. So I've got my little bird and he's going to be tucked in there. Oh, don't you just love these little bits and pieces? He needed his legs, you see. He needed his legs and his feet so he can perch. just inside the floral here, and then just so that does grab hold, I just need to use my scissors. There we go. And then we've got our mat and layer, which I've just chucked on the floor. I was actually prepared and cut them out. So we've got our card blank, our card piece that we've decorated, which is 4 by 6, and the mat is 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, and the black mat echoes the little bird here. So let's just have the little bird added, and anybody in the right mind would not try and stick this down with everything moving, but we're demoing, and when you're demoing sort of in real time, you just do it. When you're at home, you can let everything dry, and it's far simpler. The process is much more simplified because you're not trying to fight with pieces that are moving all the time. I like to sort of rub the back of the card just to make sure the centre area is adhered. There we go. Then I can add that to a 5 by 7 card blank, which really sort of sets that off. I'll add that. And the only reason I'm squeezing my bottle like this is because I'm coming towards the end of the adhesive, and I'm making sure I get every little drop out. Make sure we're doing it the right way card. So the card blank is 5 by 7. And just add this here, and then I'm just going to check if I want another little floral or not. Let's just put our little bird back. I love the mess that my desk is in. It's hilarious. What a mess. So let's take the Honesty again and just a floral. I wonder if there's enough room just for one of the florals here. It's nothing like using every scrap of card, is there? Really. Let's just cut this little, obviously it needs colouring, little floral out. There we go. Do I want any? Just sort of, no, I'm happy with it, what it is. You have to know when to say no. So there's our beautiful sort of natural card, and what I would do is when everything is dry, and I mean solid, not like I'm doing, I would go back in and I would sort of add my touches of white to areas and just add dots, and even in the background just make sure that you just add the little touches of white. You can even sort of bring in, if you can see a little bit of the leaf, you can just bring in the touches of leaf detail. It only has to be subtle because it's in the background. Let's move this, and just so that you can see that, I'm really pleased with that, and I hope you enjoyed the demonstration. The other thing you can do, can you see how you've got the honesty wording? I'm always looking at balance. Now, we've got these two black elements here. Now, I don't want that to jar, so what I'm going to do is just take a little bit of this honesty text, and I'm just going to add a little bit of that text. Oh yes, I know you probably think I'm absolutely loopy, but trust me, do not put an arrow on this. Trust me, it's the little details when the recipient receives them. So what I'm doing here is I'm extending the touches of black, because what I'm doing now, I'm adding some of those touches of black into the background, just so it looks more considered. That finishes it off beautifully. I'll show you what I mean. Oh, where's the stamp set again? Now for me, it is properly finished. Because I've got this black here and the black sentiment, I've now added touches of black, but not overpowered it, but it's got more balance and it just looks more considered. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I've really enjoyed it. Don't forget to add an insert to your card as well, just so you can see the dimension. You can add more florals if you wish to your design, just so that you've got other little florals to your design. It's entirely up to you. So I hope you've enjoyed that demonstration. Love to all, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.